Hello and welcome into a Friday edition of the Computer America Show. Ralph Bond is here with us for both hours. It's going to be a lot of fun. He's got some great topics, and we're going to start off things, like a chair that builds itself. Good grief, what's that all about? MIT's involved, so it's got to be something cool. He's got a lot of great stories, both hours, with us tonight here. Ralph Bond from Autodesk, and Ben is
1 minute until showtime.
He's driving as fast as he can to get here. He was out with some friends. It's a Friday night, and so he's on his way. He'll probably be a couple minutes late, but that's okay. We'll get started right away. So sit back, relax, enjoy the show as we get started for a Friday edition of the Computer America Show. Yes, I am. I'm very sweet. Uh-huh. My wife just told me I was very sweet. I thought I would share that with all of you. Okay. All right, here we go.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live. It's America's longest-running national radio talk show on computers, Computer America, hosted by national columnist Craig Crossman. Look for Craig's weekly column in your favorite newspaper. This show is being beamed nationwide at ComputerAmerica.com. Keep it here for technology news, computer products, guest interviews, and your phone calls. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. It's the nation's longest-running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers. Computer America is heard around the world and coast to coast. And I'm your host, Craig Crossman. And I'm your co-host, Ben. Hey, Ben, how you doing? It's Friday night. What's going on? Oh, nothing much. Just sitting here, getting ready to go. Looking forward to it. Okay, Ben, well, we'll be starting in a few minutes. Actually, Ben is not quite here yet, but I know he's on his way, and he will be joining us. He's here with us in spirit. Yes, in spirit. And he will be with us here in a few minutes. In the meantime, as you know, it's Friday! Yeah. Another week of broadcasting excellence in the can, as they say, and as we continue on Fridays. And I understand there's a couple of good movies out. Maybe we can talk about that too. Hello to everybody in the Computer America chat room. I see you're all in there. Now, what does he mean, chat room? Well, if you're new to the show, let me tell you what it's all about. If you have a comment or a question or suggestion, see, we give you many different ways you can interact with the program. The easiest way is give us a call, 347-884-8881. That's 347-884-8881. I'll get you on and get you through. If you're listening to the show live Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. to midnight Eastern Time, you can call that number. If you're not listening to us at that time, then of course you'll just get a recording. It won't be us live. Okay. It'll still work, but you just won't get us. You can also join us in our live interactive chat room. From our homepage at ComputerAmerica.com, you'll see right there says Interact with this show. And all you have to do is pick the one that says Chat Room /Live Video. You'll get a split screen. On the left-hand side there, you'll see the entry form that puts you into the chat room. Just put in a username. That's the name you'll be known by when you go in there. There's a couple other things there, like a CAPTCHA code, which you have to, it's usually a letter or number or something like that. Put that in, then click the connect button, and your browser will move you into the Computer America chat room. We have a lot of Computer America regulars. Jonathan's in there, Lucas is in there, Fort's in there, Frank's in there. We have a lot of people in there. Love to have you join us in the Computer America chat room. And also, sharing that same page is our live Computer America video stream. That's right. Not only can you listen to the Computer America show, you can also watch it. We have live video streaming. available to you, our listeners, at that page. So you can actually see me. You can see Ben. Well, you can't see him right now because he isn't in there, but he will be shortly. And you can also see our guests, like Ralph Bond. You can see him there. He's patiently waiting in the scene. He's waving. That's right. See. So that's another way. Those are one of the many ways you can interact with the Computer America show. Just let me mention that the chat room, for those of you who like, things formatted for a more pleasing manner, on that same page we have something called, we have a button that says IRC Clients. Click that. It'll take you to our free software page where you can see a plethora of free software products that we recommend or suggest that you can use. At the bottom of the page, you'll see like IRC Clients, and basically they work with your browser. Depending on which browser you use, which platform you're using, one of them, at least one of them, will work properly, I'm sure. And what that does, when you install that as a plugin into your browser, when you go into the chat room, like for example, Chatzilla is one of them, MIRC is another, it'll basically format the chat room in its own window, and it has a little typing area. The colors will be a little different. You can read some of the bulletins or topics at the top of the window. It just formats everything in a more pleasing manner. Okay? I just see Ralph Bond is in there. Let me say hi to Ralph. But you don't have to do that. You can just use the standard browser window. But if you want to format things more pleasingly, we offer that there. And again, it's all free. And so you can communicate with us. Okay, so that said, as I said, Ben still isn't here yet, but I know he'll be here shortly. Yes, Jonathan beat Ben in. Yes, they're all here ahead of Ben. Let me introduce our guest for tonight. Now he has his own theme music. Right? Yes, we know what that means. He's back. Bond is back, and we've got him. It's all Bond on tonight's show. He's Bond, Ralph Bond. Yes, Ralph Bond is a correspondent to the Computer America show. He's the author of Family Computer Fun, Digital Ideas Using Your Photos, Movies, and Music by Q Publishing, and co-author of the PC Dad's Guide to Becoming a Computer Smart Parent by Dell Publishing. Ralph was Intel's Consumer Education Manager for more than 10 years, and for nearly the past 7 years, he's been part of Autodesk's communications team. Ralph, welcome into Computer America. How the heck are you?
I'm doing great. I'm sorry I choked you up. The anticipation of having me on the show must have been just too much.
It is. It's too much. You're too much for us. But I'm certainly glad to have you in here anyway. So, yes. So, yeah, everybody thinks I'm choked up, and I am choked up. It's Friday, and we're kind of late. It's kind of laid back a little bit. Ben went out with his friends, and it's nice to get out and kind of do the town. And so, now here's the thing. We really make things easy for you to interact, especially on the shows with Ralph here, because not only do we have the chat room, and not only have the phone numbers, and not only have the live Computer America video streaming page. I mean, we have all this stuff going on. There's even more that we make it easy for you. If you go to Computer America, go to our homepage, right there, and it says Interact with the Show. The second button down that says Show Notes. Well, you click on that, you'll go to our Show Notes page. And you'll see today's show, February the 13th. Wait a minute. February the 13th? It's Friday the 13th? Yeah. Oh, my gosh. It's Friday the 13th. Uh-huh. Well, there you go. Yes, it's Friday. Anyway, you can see the show. We even have a link to Ralph Bond's website. You can click on that, and then we talk about some of the topics we're going to be talking about, like the chair that builds itself and things like that. But underneath that paragraph, you'll see a little hyperlink that says Cheat Notes. And if you click on that, it'll open up another page. It'll open up a Google Docs document. and you can see everything we're going to be talking about tonight. You can see, well, you can see a picture of Ralph. You can see the stories, the headlines. You can see pictures. You can see the actual story itself, and also, most importantly, you can see the links. If you want more information about that story, we already have the links posted there. So everything what we're going to be talking about tonight is right there at computeramerica.com. Wait a minute. Okay, all right. I know that voice. I know that voice. Who is that? Who's that voice?
And I'm your co-host, Ben.
Oh! Hey, Ben. I'm glad you can make it.
Thank you.
Yes,
Sorry,
exactly.
I was caught teaching inner city children to read, and then I had to stop saving. Yeah, I had to stop saving dolphins at the beach just to be here, and traffic was atrocious. So my bad, but I'm here.
Well, we're so glad to have you here, and Ralph is here as well, and we've already introduced him.
Thank goodness we wouldn't have a show without Ralph.
Yes, we wouldn't. So anyhow, I told him about the cheat notes and all the different ways you can interact with the show, and so we're basically just going to get started. Now, this first topic, again from it's called it's our first story of the evening. It's MIT makes a chair that builds itself. Now, what's all this about?
Yeah, this is pretty fascinating, and I'll tell you what, get those show notes that Craig was talking about, everybody, because you're going to want to click on the link that's in the show notes, and when you do that, you're going to go out and you'll see a video animation, or a video, rather, of this process, and the implications of this are really profound. This comes from a site called The Creators Project, a story by Beckett Muffson. And again, go out and check this out. But here's the scoop. It says, a chair that builds itself sounds like an invention straight out of the Jetsons. Now, some of you youngsters don't know what that is, but the Jetsons was a very famous, what was it, in the 1960s, right? A cartoon about a futuristic family and so forth. So it says it sounds like something out of the Jetson or Woody Allen's tongue-in-cheek sci-fi satire, Sleeper. That's a pretty funny movie, too. MIT researchers, however, have created a squat, white chair that assembles itself solely on the power of water currents and small magnets, and it may very well change the way we build things. I mean, this is really wackadoodle stuff out here. I love this. It says, designed to harness energy from natural forces to construct organized, sturdy structures, the small piece of furniture, and the project's entitled Fluid Assembly Chair Test, is the most recent development in an ongoing collaboration between MIT's Self-Assembly Lab, digital design software group Autodesk, hooray, that's my company, and molecular biologists Arthur Olson. So it's this three-way combination of talent coming together to make this happen. Now the article talks about December's Biofabricate Summit. Wouldn't that have been an interesting thing to go to? In New York City, director Skylar Tibbetts showcased Chair Test, the topic we're referring to tonight here, and two other in-progress projects, including a wind-powered construction system called Aerial Assemblies, and another collaboration with Autodesk and Olson called Fluid Crystallization Cubic, to fully explain the concept of self-assembly. This is really out there. A self-assembling object, Tibbetts says, is a group of, quote, individual parts that come together on their own to make precise structures, close quote. Alongside 4D printing, Chair Test represents a huge part of the Self-Assembly Lab's exploration. Goes on to say, one long-term goal of these experiments, Tibbetts told the Creators Project, is to develop a construction process that needs neither machine nor human intervention, burns no fossil fuels, requires no extra energy, can run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and is optimal for situations that pose a lot of problems, pardon me, for existing technologies. And then it closes by saying things like disaster relief, construction in space, or assembly of micro or macro structures are possible applications for the products of the self-assembly lab that they're planning. So, of course, this is very much in the early experimental stages, small scale, and so on. But I think the implications are absolutely jaw-dropping.
Yeah, I mean,
it seems like the perfect solution to. I know with sending people to Mars, they want to send little pods beforehand. Yeah. And have something set up when people get there to land there and start using it. This, I mean, they hit the nail on the head when they said construction in space, because you don't have an outlet to plug into on Mars.
Right, exactly. And what's curious to me, and you look at the video, again, friends, get those show notes, click that link. When you see the video, you think, well, okay, this object's in water and so forth, so, well, how would that translate into a situation in outer space or whatever? So I'm not smart enough guy to figure this out, but I think the implications of self-assembly is really something we're hearing, and it is related to the 3D printing community and all this sort of stuff. It's all kind of co-mixed together, but self-assembly is something that seems to be really on the cutting edge of construction or manufacturing technology, so it's a really fun story.
Yeah, I mean, it has the potential for changing quite a bit of manufacturing processes. It's just, if this really catches on the way, I guess there are a lot of things that you have to consider, because then if you don't need manufacturing plants, or you still need people, is it going to replace them? I mean, the point is, I don't think any one thing is going to be a total. I think it's going to have a nice niche for what it will do. It's certainly not. I don't see this, assembling automobiles.
No, right. I think you're right on target there. It's probably going to be simplistic structures and so forth, but the implications are intriguing.
It is, exactly. Okay, and again, they're doing it at MIT, so obviously
you can't be all bad.
Okay, so you referenced a little bit of something about 3D printing, which gets us to the second story.
Right.
3D printing in the news again. This time, they created a drone with 3D printing, but it's complete with the circuitry built in, which is kind of neat.
There you go. Printing electronics boards and such is really hot. We have another story coming up that's related to this as well, but this one comes from Mashable, story by Lance Ulanoff, and it's 3D printing created this drone complete with circuitry. Again, the show notes shows you a picture of what we're talking about here, the printed drone, and the story says 3D printing has been described as a force for revolutionary change, but with all the jewelry and lately food people are printing, it sometimes feels less like a revolution than an awesome hobby. I couldn't agree more, right? But advances in biomedical 3D printing certainly help dispel some of those notions. Amen. The world's first 3D electronics printer from Voxel 8, that's VOXEL and the number 8, could eliminate those notions completely, right? So 3D printing is not just for toys and silliness and having fun and whatever, but in the biomedical field and so forth, and in electronics, wow, hang on to your hat. There's a great picture here in the show notes. It goes on to say Voxel 8's 60-pound device works to some extent like traditional 3D printers, printing objects in layers. It prints using PLA, or polylactic acid, for the body of the electronic gadget in question, and then uses specially formulated conductive silver ink for the embedded circuitry, which is printed via a process called pneumatic direct write. Okay, this is pretty cool. Standalone chips can then be placed in the 3D printed object during the printing process, and the printer will lay down silver ink to make the connections. Okay, while the commercial $8,999 printer is months away from delivery, the current version is already printing 3D electronics, including light-up decorations, a USB stick, and even a drone, the one pictured in the story here. There are, however, even more exciting prospects to say the least. So this is another. Oh, I love this. Just right there on the edge. I love it, love it, love it.
And again, not to keep bringing Autodesk up too, but there's so much involved with this technology and printing and design, CAD design.
Yeah, yeah. I slipped in a couple of shameless Autodesk plugs right at the top here.
Well, we talked about things assembling themselves, and we're talking about 3D printing, and we move. It segues right nicely into the next story, which is more 3D printing news. The world's first 3D printing automobile factory, plus a showroom, coming to the Washington, D.C. area. Wow.
Oh, yeah, this is great. This is a story that comes from the Motley Fool website, Beth McKenna. And I love this story, an outfit called Local Motors. Here we go. It says, if you live in the mid-Atlantic region, you should soon be able to buy a 3D printed car, or at least see one made. Developers at National Harbor, a 350-acre waterfront property in Prince George's County, Maryland, announced their plans earlier this month to open a facility for Local Motors by year's end. The facility, which is expected to be approximately 40,000 square feet, will include a 3D printing micro factory, lab, and showroom. Wow. Local Motors aims to change the way automobiles are made and sold. The business model of Phoenix-based Local Motors, founded in 2007, involves crowdsourcing the design of vehicles and then building and selling them locally. Its ultimate goal is to open micro factories near all major urban centers, and manufacturing autos close to their ultimate buyers should cut down drastically on distribution costs. The company currently has locations in Phoenix and Las Vegas, but according to the Washington Post, the National Harbor site, again, this is in Maryland, would be the first Local Motors outpost to print, refine, and assemble a fleet of cars via a 3D printer.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the author of the piece goes on to say the bigger picture, a bigger 3D printing industry pie to access is what the implication is. Concludes by saying, or the conclusion part here, it says, if Local Motors' efforts help light a fire under the adoption of 3D printing for industrial applications, so we're talking about large-scale industrial, the entire size of the 3D industry could grow faster than projected currently. And estimates are already robust. Industry analyst Wohlers Associates expects that the global 3D printing industry will grow from $3.07 billion in 2013, so a year or so ago, to more than $21 billion by 2020. That's greater than a 31% compounded average annual growth rate. So this is really great. I love this idea of you go to a showroom and you could just have your car printed locally and delivered. It has some very interesting implications about the future of some, not all, parts of manufacturing. The idea of these micro factories in locations close to the customers, this is a transformation. This is a transformative, as Andy Grove would say, a strategic inflection point in history, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, we've actually, I've seen this car. We've reported on similar stories. It might have been this. It's probably even the same one, where they were building a car, completely.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, even though the car is printed, they have to put in all the additional components in the wall.
Right.
Although with the previous story, with building drones with circuitry already built in, that can't say that that might happen with automobiles in the future.
Yeah.
We even reported about was it they were building homes and buildings in China.
Yeah, exactly.
So it really seems to be suggested that the next wave or the next things in manufacturing, we're going to see more and more as the technology becomes more sophisticated. We're going to see more and more of these things where you might very well one day walk into an automobile. They might have a showroom and then you say, literally, well, I want a car, but I want this and I want that and I want this option, and they print the car for you.
Oh yeah. Absolutely, Craig. And another thing to think about, guys, is this: the democratization of manufacturing large-scale appliances or objects like a car. I mean, if you think about the history of manufacturing, when you're talking about something, a washing machine or a car or something pretty substantial in size, right?
Yeah.
You needed the classic Detroit model, right? You would need the idea of a large facility, very costly, lots of iron and people, and concentrated in one big zone to make it economically feasible to output large products. But this suggests a complete breaking apart of that old model and opening the possibility that people could produce things in these micro factories anywhere. It could completely revolutionize many aspects of manufacturing. We'll see, but I love the implications of this particular story.
Right, I agree. Now, to continue on with this, I want you to skip down to story 7, and because we're really kind of on this 3D bent. And,
Yeah.
well, here now we were talking about this local motors company, printing out cars, but evidently in Singapore,
Yeah.
their students have printed their own solar power city car.
Yeah, yeah. It is great. This is a story from Engadget, and a really fun story. There's a great picture showing the students in the car and so forth. A couple of cars, actually, they made. And it says, give some students a 3D printer, some solar panels, and about a year's worth of time, and what do you get? No, not a solar-powered bong. What? Though a good idea. Okay, that's the author's opinion. Solar race cars, that's what. Engineering students from Nanyang Technological University, NTU, have built 3D printed solar electric car prototype, the NTU Venture 8, and plan to race it in Shell's Eco Marathon Asia later this month. The team was originally looking at a supercar design, but decided to go with a sensible, cute microcar with vertical opening doors that can run at up to 60 kilometers an hour or 37 miles per hour. The students said the vehicle is Singapore's first and probably Asia's first 3D printed concept car, with the cockpit fabricated from 150 lightweight plastic parts. The design maximizes interior space thanks to a strong honeycomb design, and its slightly translucent skin is a sight to behold, according to the team. The NV8 car was printed in part of NTU's recently opened $5 million additive manufacturing center. I love that. Additive Manufacturing Center. That's a buzz phrase you're going to hear a lot. Built to allow students and staff to pursue 3D printed research projects. And there's another picture in the show notes. It goes on to conclude, while the NV8 will run in the urban concept category, the team also developed a carbon fiber three-wheeler to race for the prestigious prototype prize. They went for broke on that design, making the vehicles as cutting edge as possible using handmade curved solar panels and a leaning function to allow for quick cornering, not unlike Toyota's iRoad EV concept vehicle. So yeah, another great example of 3D printing on a large scale with tremendous implications. And again, to the point of the earlier story, here's a group of students doing this. It's no longer going to require a massive giant factory to do this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, just imagine you could walk into a dealer, see this car, and slap yourself in the head and say, "I could have had an NV8."
You had to do that, didn't you?
I know.
God. Oh.
But no, sir. I mean, that's really they really do look awesome. Okay. And what do you think of the cars, Ben?
The world's first 3D printed car?
No, that's the Singapore story 7. The Singapore printing the solar powered city car. It looked
Yeah,
really
no. I'm sorry. I actually had to step away from my computer for a second. Oh,
Yeah.
by the way, those cars, they're looking really. One's like a Batmobile kind of deal, and the other one looks like it could take on the world. So they look pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think the white one. I could actually see that in an urban putt-putt get-around town kind of car. The white one is actually, that's a very cool looking design. I think that would be something I could actually see purchasing something like that to have an all-electric vehicle. And again, these are solar powered. I don't know whether they're exclusively relying on solar or whether it's solar assisted or solar additional power going into these machines. But pretty cool concept.
Yeah, so that from the local auto, and walking into a local Motors, coming out with the first 3D printed car. Actually, Ben and I think we did a story like that on them a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
But really, really cool concepts. And we're talking about the 3D printed drone, and we're talking all these things. And I want to go to the next story, 8, because we're in a 3D printer role here. And this is kind of interesting. Actually, what we'll do is we're going to have to pause because we're at the bottom of the hour, and then when we come back, we're going to talk about how an artist is creating an extraordinary living sculptures. They're like living sculptures using a 3D printer, and these sculptures actually appear to grow and move. Sort of like real plants and flowers. This is taking a look at the picture. If you should download the cheat notes and take a look at some of these things. They're absolutely amazing. Ralph Bond is here with us for both hours. 347-884-8881 will get you on and get you through. We've got a news tips bulletin review from Marty Winston coming up next. That's the last one of the week. We'll be right back with more right after this.
Hey everyone, have you heard about the No hair removal device that's sweeping the globe? If you want to go weeks without shaving and get smooth, professional quality results, here's our favorite host, Cheryl, for No hair removal.
Thanks. Hey gals, I love talking about my No. It's this cute little hair removal system that you can take with you and use almost anywhere at home or on the road. No more expensive in-office treatments, painful waxing, and no more wasting your valuable time. Got unwanted facial hair? No has patented thermocon technology that works on all hair and skin colors, so it's perfect for using on all body parts. And now you can take advantage of this incredible risk-free trial. Get the No, the facial kit, a travel case, and a $100 discount shopping card, and you don't risk a penny to try it. Try the incredible No hair completely risk-free. Call 1-800-953-5415. That's 800-953-5415. 800-953-5415.
Hi, this is Craig Crossman, host of the Computer America Show. You have important meetings to schedule. Your company's getting ready for its IPO, and you're in charge of the PTA fundraiser this month. So how do you coordinate everyone to be available at the same time? Are you still using emails, phone calls, even text messages to schedule meetings with a group of people? How's that working out for you? That's so great, huh? It's a fact that every day, millions of people suffer from scheduling headaches. Well, with Doodle, scheduling meetings with a group of people is quick and easy. With Doodle, you can easily propose available times to each member. Each one checks off the times that they are available, and then you simply pick the time that works best for the group, all in an easy-to-read display that integrates with your existing calendar. Nothing could be more simple. Give Doodle a try for free, and like millions of Doodle users, you'll truly see how easy it is to find the perfect date and time for all your meetings. That's www.doodle.com.
So, you feeling erudite? This is Marty Winston with a News Tips Bulletin book review for Computer America. This time, Wiley's 12th edition of Mechanical and Electrical Equipment for Buildings by Kwok and Gronzig. The new 12th edition is a breezy 1,800 and some pages of the practical, physical, scientific, and engineering underpinnings of everything about building and buildings, from the impact on local soil to, well, everything. Well, new. Most of its coverage of more recent technologies like LED lighting, higher efficiency heating and cooling products, and home control systems is quite dated. But its considerable coverage of the basics more than makes up for that. Comfort, heating, cooling, lighting, acoustics, power, water, sewage, the effects of sun and weather, power equipment, wiring, and other aspects involved in designing homes or office buildings all come into play. It has the levels of detail that architects, builders, designers, and yes, specifically and especially geeks will love. Bottom line, the answer to why things get built the way they do and what happens when you change those ways get explained in a zillion ways in Wiley's 12th edition Mechanical and Electrical Equipment for Buildings. This is Marty Winston with a News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America.
Welcome back to the Computer America Show. 33 minutes past the hour. That is the last time you may be feeling erudite because we'll be getting a brand new Marty Winston News Tip Bulletin Review next week, starting next week, first and second hour. So yeah, hope you enjoy that. They're always in the archives, and yeah. But right now we have Ralph Bond, and we're doing all these great news stories that he's found throughout the month. And this next one, it's always great when art meets technology, because traditionally technology has been very utilitarian. It's just you create technology to do a purpose, and art has always been secondary. But it seems like artists are now embracing 3D printers, actually, in specific. I know we're talking about those all night long, but yeah, Ralph Bond, apparently there's an artist creates a living 3D printed sculpture.
Yeah, this is a fun story, guys. This comes from the Daily Mail, a story by Simon Cable. And in the chat room there, I popped in the link for people. You can see the image. If you have the show notes, you can see the image of just one of these sculptures. Just fascinating. So the story says an artist has created a series of spectacular sculptures which appear to bloom like living flowers. John Edmarks created his pieces of art, which he calls blooming zoetrope sculptures, using a 3D printer. The infinite blooming effect is achieved by spinning the sculpture and photographing it at with a camera with a very fast shutter speed. The objects are based on natural forms, including pine cones, pineapples, sunflowers, and artichokes, all of which would display the same effect if they are spun at a right speed and photographed the same way. Explaining how the sculptures work, Mr. Edmark said, "If you follow what appears to be a single petal as it works its way out and down the sculpture, what you are actually seeing is all the petals on the sculpture in the order of their respective distances from the top center." John Edmark is the sculptor John Edmark is an inventor, designer, and artist. He teaches design at Stanford University in California. So he's obviously a pretty bright person. Concludes here, it says, Mr. Edmark has included more examples of his sculptures, and there's a link in the show notes so you can go see it, and has also offered information on how to make similar pieces, and there's yet another link in the show notes here for you to go and learn more about that. So the other thing I kind of like about the whole 3D community, 3D printing community and so forth, there's currently an awful lot of this sort of sharing culture, sharing recipes, sharing ideas, and helping each other out. And that's very much the case with Mr. Edmark, who's published ideas on how you can make your own similar kinds of sculptures.
Yeah, I've actually been watching the video of that. And,
yeah,
really quite amazing.
It is cool.
It is very, very cool. All right, so again, we're continuing doing these different stories that Ralph finds for us, and again, we encourage you to go to the show notes page and click on the cheat notes, and you can see these different images. There's one that looks that of this image that we're just talking about. It looked like oh, I don't know, it's not the little pointy ones, but they had little square petals on it.
Yeah,
just amazing looking stuff. Anyway, let's go back up to story 4.
All right.
And this comes on the heels of or on the, I don't know if the heels, but actually on the introduction of a movie that's coming called Chappie, which I'm really looking forward to. Chappie is it's a story about a robot that's designed that becomes self-aware. This has been done before, but he's
but his name is Chappie. It's adorable.
Adorable.
So it's gotta be okay.
Yeah, Hugh Jackman stars in it. I mean, it's got a good cast, and And from the previews I've seen, it looks. I just don't. I don't hope that it doesn't go bad for him. You know, sometimes they have these things that come to life and then they get killed in the end. So I don't want to see that if that's the case.
We're all hoping for another Johnny Five.
Yeah, it's sort of like Johnny Five, but it's a modern day version of it. But anyway, this student creates this scientist creates this robot who becomes self-aware, and they teach it, you know, and it grows and it learns rather quickly. But that's the premise of the story, and I'm looking at this story for this robot that DARPA has created, this humanoid robot, and it looks a lot like Chappie. I mean, there are a lot of similarities to this robot to it. But anyway, this is now back to the real world from TechCrunch. They're talking about this incredible humanoid robot that can now walk on its own 2 feet and no support is required. Tell us about this.
Yeah, another breakthrough in robotics comes from TechCrunch, a story by Greg Kumparak, and the picture is really very, very interesting. And of course, the videos of this are really fun to watch. So the story says, remember Atlas, the massive walking robot that DARPA, and of course DARPA is the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. So remember Atlas, the massive walking robot DARPA is building with the now Google-owned Boston Dynamics company. So I think I think maybe last month we talked about that. Anyway, last time we saw it, it had 2 major flaws that made it ever so slightly less intimidating. It was loud, and it needed a big, thick support cable to keep it powered and upright. Both of those issues have been fixed. DARPA released a video demonstrating the latest version of Atlas, and it's a doozy. DARPA says about 75% of the robot has been redesigned. 75%, think about that. With only the stuff below the knees staying the same. And there's a link here. You can go and see this video. It's just very compelling. Whereas
I want to interject here because what has me a little confused here or wondering is I know Honda had Asimo, the robot, and he walks and does everything. He's totally, you know.
Well, that's true. You're right.
I mean, you know, and he's been around for a long time. I mean, he's been around for years, and he is truly a robot that walks and can, you know, and looks very, very human when he does.
You know, you're right. So yeah, I wonder if it's this. I wonder if they're talking about the size factor. But you're absolutely spot on. You're right, of course. Yeah. So why were they claiming this is the first? Yeah. Well, although what they're saying is incredible humanoid robot can walk on its own 2 feet, no support required. Oh, let's see here. But it's sort of implying as if this has never been done. So you make a good point.
Yeah, maybe we should introduce them to Asimo.
they can fight it out.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Honda, he's a product of Honda, and I mean, you can Google him, you can see him, and he walks on stage.
Of course. Yeah, that's a very good point. Anyway, it says, whereas the previous generation of Atlas got its power through an unsightly cable tether, thus greatly limiting its range, the robot now carries its own power source on its back. Of course, Asimo does too, right? Yeah. It can operate for about an hour before its self-contained battery is drained. While the Atlas in the video above is still held up by a support rope, it's only for the safety of its operators and not in the, oh God, evil robot on the loose sense. Coming in at roughly 350 pounds of metal and sharp corners and still just learning to walk, it's not exactly something you'd want to come crashing down on your head. Meanwhile, the new Atlas is considerably quieter than the generations prior. Just a year ago, working next to the Atlas meant wearing earplugs. Now, thanks to a new pressure pump design, the noise is more annoying than it is deafening. Mm-hmm. And it says, and thanks to the newfound ability to rotate at the wrist, Atlas can open doorknobs. So if your plan to survive the Robocapocalypse, like apocalypse, but Robocapocalypse. Like, how do you say that?
Robocalypse.
Thank you. Involved hiding in a broom closet. It might be time to come up with a new one. There are some. Again, the videos are a lot of fun to see. But you made a very, very good point, Craig, about
Asimo.
This has been done already.
I mean, Asimo doesn't walk like a human.
Yeah, he walks like a human.
It looks pretty humanistic to me.
He walks like a human that has to go to the bathroom really bad. Like
well, maybe that's why I didn't notice. That's why it looks so natural to me. The older you get, the more you do that stuff.
But it's not very natural in terms. Like if you saw a person walking and you saw Asimov or Asimov walking right behind him, like, oh, that's a kid right behind him. No, that's clearly a robot. It's not very natural.
Asimov walks with his knee. He's slightly bent at the knees.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that's what's throwing Ben off. But still, other than that, I mean, his balance and everything is.
Don't get me wrong. He was cool in 2003.
Yeah.
It's not very impressive nowadays.
Who's got that? Is it Google that has the robotic dogs?
Yeah.
Is that Google?
No, that's
who
that's
is that,
DARPA.
Ben? Is that DARPA
That's
too?
DARPA.
Those things.
Yeah.
I'll tell you. You want to? They had those on the TV for some reason, some news special. My wife just went, "Oh, that's fascinating, but kind of freaky and scary all at the same time," because they showed how they can just skimper up upstairs with no problem. Very fluid movement, very, very dog-like. Just fascinating.
But
it's 4 legs with no head, and then they get a running start, and then they kick it in the side, and you see it actually reorientate itself and catch itself.
Fascinating.
And but the entire time it's so natural and so
fluid.
It's so fluid. You're thinking, oh, that poor robot, they just kicked it. You stop thinking, oh, well, it's just a computer. It's like kicking a computer. Like, don't do that. But it's so natural. You're like, oh, the poor robot.
Yeah.
I think
they're showing how how they can tip it and will regain its balance.
Yes.
Which is a testament. It's all math. It's all the mathematics that they figured into this, and they've evidently coming up with the equations and formulas to do this.
And that's something. And I would suggest, guys, see if you agree with me. These robots that are meant to look like humans on 2 legs and upright, fine. That's nice. But in terms of practical, immediate application, when I saw the robotic dogs, I thought, okay, this is going to work, because when you are a quadruped, you reduce or eliminate a lot of the, what would be the word, the exotic technology needed to do a 2-legged stand upright kind of robot, right? I mean, if your sole purpose is to make something that looks like a human being, fine. But if you're looking at robotics in terms of something practical, something that can be used right now, the quadruped idea is so much more compelling to me, and could mean, they talk about robots to help the elderly or the disabled or whatever. Well, why not a robotic dog? It's going to be much more doable and more articulate immediately than trying to have a humanoid like two-legged stand upright kind of solution. So that's one thing I was thinking about.
Robotic dog, or how about a kind of like I have Beauty and the Beast play in my head, like a robotic coffee table. It's just like going around like it came alive. It's just helping you.
Ah, see? Why not? Why not? It's really not that nutty. I mean, I think it makes complete. Yeah, I was looking at a news story on CNN. Is it cruel to kick a robot dog? Is the title of the story. That's pretty funny. And it shows that video that Craig and both of you were referring to. And friends, if you haven't seen this thing, you must see it, folks. It is, I think, one of the most profound robotic things I've ever seen.
Yeah. I'm watching a video here. They actually posted Asimo versus something called Petman, which is a Japanese versus the USA. But again, watching Asimo, his legs, I mean, he can hop on one leg, and he can jump, he can run. Yes, his knees are slightly bent, but I think that's what's also giving him the additional stability.
Yeah, stabilization, yes, I agree.
But and again, the hand motions, hand gesture, very, very fluid. But the dog, I have not seen one of the dog. I have seen other videos of other creatures that I guess you could
like DARPA is developing the dog right now for the Defense Department because right now, whenever soldiers have to go out into the field, they have to carry all the equipment on their back. And if they have something like this following them around, and it can carry 2,000 pounds, that's just going to save people a bunch of time and be able to carry a lot more out in the field.
And not worry about the terrain. You don't have to have a flat road.
Yeah.
Yes.
Animals
Yes.
have a way of going up, almost vertically. I remember we have a home in the Carolinas, and one of the things that I was so impressed with is we were watching a bear, and this is a really big bear, and he ran up the side of a mountain that was literally vertical, almost vertical, and he just went right it up. I went, holy mackerel, without a moment's hesitation. So obviously, 4 legs are better than 2, I guess, in that case. But
so I think Ralph being completely right, in robotics that look like humans is one thing, but the future is probably something that's more useful than it is to look human.
Yeah, I think that, guys, that's my takeaway. When I looked at these stories, which are all well and good, and talking about Osmo and so forth, but then I saw this dog thing, and I thought, all the bells and whistles, boom, went off in my head, thinking this is where it's at. And Ben, your suggestion of a coffee table-like device that's mobile is not silly at all. I mean, think about how many people are housebound, the elderly, the disabled, or whatever. If you had them, and gee whiz, if you could talk to it and say, table, please go and get this or something, and it can do these things. Maybe has little arms too to help grab things and put it on its own self table, right, and bring it to you. Hey,
yeah,
I mean, this sort of stuff, and of course there's obvious things like having a robotic dog, let's call it that can go into hazardous situations so that human beings don't have to risk themselves. Firemen, military, police. There's all these kinds of obvious things where something like that, and plus, wouldn't it scare just scare the pants off of you if you're a bad guy having a pack of these things running after you? Gotta love that. I can't wait to see that.
Well, there you go. But definitely more of the future. I think this is amazing.
The future, and again, we say the future, but at the same time, it's the future within the next 10 to 15 years. Like, we're going to be seeing these all over the place. Like, this is research and development, and the next step is getting it out to the public or getting it into companies' hands to use it.
Yep.
Jonathan just posted an interesting video of one where you actually watch the dog, getting react to getting kicked.
Right.
It's really spooky watching this thing.
It's spooky.
It's from
spooky cool.
Boston Dynamics. Take a look at the you can look at that in the last link and see.
Like, the average person looks at it, it's like, oh man, they just kicked that robot. But then maybe you have someone who's a scientist or a mathematician, and they look at that and they say, man, that is so many equations for force incoming, where to go, how to operate itself, just all acting so perfectly. That's like, a scientist would look at that and say, that's really impressive.
It's very impressive.
Yeah, it's very watching him kick it. Just to show you that he couldn't kick it over. It caught itself right. Rectified. It's obviously using the different sensors and the math that they've actually come up with the math to do this.
And not to beat this thing to death, but the story I'm looking at, which was posted on CNN about this dog and the bit about kicking the dog, talks about it being 160 pounds. Now, here's another thing to think about, fellas. 160 pounds is manageable, meaning a couple of people. A couple of adults could lift a device like this off, turn it on in a situation, and let it do its thing, right? It's not it's in no way impractical. Weight, size, capability, quadruped, all the things we've been talking about make this exciting.
It's actually running too. They show it running.
Oh gosh, yeah, it runs, and then it runs. It goes upstairs. All this crazy stuff.
It's
freaky.
It is, and to be able to, I mean, I could see putting a seat on this, and and people who, I mean, wheelchairs, you can't do that, but you can get on this and
My
have
Little
it.
Pony.
Right.
There
I mean,
you go.
If you're a paraplegic, you could sit on this. This would be the thing that would take you around, and it moves at a much faster clip than a wheelchair was, and it would allow you to go over terrains that you just really couldn't go with today's wheelchairs.
Okay, here you go. You've got to now have a robotic horse. Just upscale this thing. Put a saddle on it, and go and have fun.
Yeah, that's it. I think it would be very, very cool. Yeah, it says
So
the end.
you're saying eventually there are going to be equestrian meets where there's your traditional horses, and then there's someone coming up with a robotic horse, making the jumps, making the leaps, doing that kind of thing. That'd be cool.
Okay, I got it, guys. They just had the Super Bowl, right? And of course, you have the Budweiser Clydesdale ad, the little puppy, all that stuff. Wait a minute, couldn't they have a fun ad where it's like they start off with that and then they go stop and they say, let's go 30 years in the future, and instead of real, Clydesdale horses, it's robotic Clydesdales that don't look like horses, that look like this machine, right? Really kind of cool.
Pulling the Budweiser, the wagon, pulling the Budweiser.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I've got it. The theme of the ad would be, "We'll still be here."
There you go.
But that's the thing. I think Budweiser is so like I think they actually trademarked like Clydesdale. Like Clydesdale is so Budweiser that to even insinuate that they would replace them with robots, I think people would just be upset. They're like, "What? They're getting rid of the horses? They haven't used horses in 150 years." But still, it's like their trademark.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I just went off on a crazy tangent.
Well, now, what Jonathan made a comment. He says, what they're not showing in the test videos that you only get 5 minutes of runtime per 6 hours of battery charge.
Yeah.
Now you see, there it is again. The limitations of technology. So many are. It's not the technology; it's our battery technology.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
They have to come up with a nuclear battery of something. So
Yeah.
That's what they need to do. Okay. Where
would you like to go next?
Well, we only have about 6 minutes left, and for the top of the hour, but we can start this one. We can tease it a little bit. Now, of course, we've been talking about 3D this, 3D that. Okay, so this story 5 is forget 3D. 4DX is the future of cinema, and here's why. And I guess we can start doing it. Why don't you do this?
Yeah. This comes from that wonderful website that's United Kingdom based called pocket-lint.com, a story by Luke Edwards. There's a image in the story here in the show notes of a theater seating that's unlike anything you've seen before. It's talking about adding the element of motion. Right, so you've got 3D, and you wear the 3D glasses, or some cases you don't have to wear glasses. And now we're going to add movement into the equation. And folks, if you've been to, I know they have this at that California zone of the Disney park in Anaheim in California. You get into this thing, and it simulates as if you're in a hang glider. Going around all kinds of fantastic natural landscapes and stuff. I don't know if they have that in the one in Orlando in Disney World.
They do have theater seats now, right here in Florida too. They have them where the movie theaters, you go in and the seat vibrates, and they do have that, but you're not really getting motion. So
right, and that's the difference here. That's what this story is talking about. So it starts off saying, Cineworld in Milton Keynes, United Kingdom, has given a glimpse of what the future of cinema may be, and it's not 3D. In fact, it's beyond 3D, as we found out in the UK's first ever 4DX screening. And we were invited to the cinema screening of Kingsman: The Secret Service. That looks like a fun movie. I want to see it. Yeah. And while we were excited to see a film that's been on the radar for a while, the main reason was to find out exactly what a 4DX presentation has to offer. And a lot, as it turns out, according to this author. What is 4DX, and why could it change cinema forever? So it goes on to explain, as you probably gathered from the name 4DX, it's the next step beyond 4D, which already adds plenty to 3D. In a nutshell, it's a cinema that not only stimulates your eyes and ears, but your other senses too. The chair can move while the air in the room is blown about. Right, so it's more the movement of the chair. The lights flash as well, plus smells, and bubbles are used to draw you further in. Not so sure about the bubbles, but with 140 seats and a 5.8 millimeter by 10.5 millimeter screen, meters, I'm sorry, 5.8. That must be what they're saying. 5.8 meters, pardon me, by 10.5 meter screen. That's bigger than a double-decker bus. It certainly offers more than any TV at home. And I don't know if do we have time to keep going, or?
Sure.
Yeah, we're just about done with this story anyway. A little bit about the backstory of 4DX, the history here. This isn't the first time a 4D video experience has been offered. The theme parks like Thorpe Park and Disneyland showing off 4D films for years. They've been doing it for years, it says. Dedicated theaters also spray you with water and vibrate your chairs while you watch a 3D film, but they never quite managed it with a big mainstream Hollywood class film, at least not on a massive scale until a South Korean firm took a bold step to develop this technology. So it's some, I know we're all movie buffs, you, me, and Ben, so it's something to think about for the future.
I don't know if I want to be sprayed with water, though.
I've been on one where they did that. It was the movie. It was the movie Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and they actually had a 4D movie experience set up around that whole thing.
Yeah.
You get sprayed with water? No.
You get sprayed with water, little puffs of air, like rats are running across you. It's a whole sensory thing.
Well, you're listening to the Computer America Show on the Boost Radio Network, on the Blog Talk Radio Network, on the IRN Radio Network. Ralph Bond is here with us. Coming up in the next hour, of course, it's Friday, so we're going to have a show reminder winner of the week, and they're going to win the Logitech T650 wireless glass touchpad, that at $80. And if you didn't get your entry in, well, don't worry. You can start doing it next week. Just head over to our contest page at computeramerica.com. Subscribe to our weekly email newsletter, the show reminder. Put your email address, your first name and last name. Click the subscribe button. It'll send you a confirmation email to which you must reply. Just make sure that you're a live person. And then you're in. You get our weekly email newsletter delivered to you every Monday morning at 9 a.m. Okay. And from that list of subscriber names, we draw a winning name to get that Logitech T650 rechargeable glass touchpad. Enter in all our contests at Computer America on there, and you'll have a lot of fun doing it. And who knows, you might win something really, really nice. All right, coming up in hour 2 of the Computer America Show, we got more stories for you from Ralph Bond, who stays with us. We'll be right back. This is Computer America.
Broadcasting live, it's the only national radio talk show on computers to air every weeknight. Computer America, hosted by national columnist Craig Crossman. The first hour's behind us, but there's still more of tech news, tech talk, and your phone calls. We're being beamed nationwide at ComputerAmerica.com. You got computer problems? Bring them on. You're listening to Computer America. Computers run the world, and we run computers. Call us or send us an email to live@computeramerica.com.
Hello and welcome into hour 2 of the nation's longest-running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers. This is the Computer America Show, and I'm your host, Craig Crossman.
And I'm your co-host, Ben.
And we continue on with Ralph Bond. He is here with us for both hours. Ralph joins us he finds all these great stories that we talk about for both hours. He joins us usually on the second Friday of the month, and that's his time slot. And he's continuing on with us. Again, if you have a comment or a question, what we're talking about, 347-884-8881. We highly recommend that you go to our show notes page, click on the show notes. You'll see today's show, Friday the 13th, February 13th. And you can click on the cheat notes, and you can see everything that we're talking about. You can see the images, pictures, the stories, the links. We highly suggest that you do that for the most complete immersive experience, the true 4DX experience here on Computer America by downloading the show notes. Anyhow,
I thought it was funny.
yeah, we continue on. We're going to go to story 9. And this is interesting. This is from Gizmag. We see so many of these Bluetooth headsets. They have all kinds of things and features. Well, this is a Bluetooth headset, evidently, that can record your calls. So tell us about this.
Yeah, this is, like you said, it's from Gizmag, a story by Chris Wood, and there's a nice image here of this device. And this is really kind of a multifunctioning device, too. It actually even has a miniature flashlight in it, too. It's really kind of a curious combination of features and capabilities, but the key thing here is the recording capability. So it says Blue Wire, is a Bluetooth 4.0 headset designed to let the user record up to 1,000 hours worth of calls. The device will record both sides of a user's conversation, is wireless charging enabled, and offers extra functionality, including a built-in flashlight and a Find My Phone feature. That's a pretty remarkable combination here. It says the headset, which sports an ordinary-looking black plastic design, packs 16 gigabytes of onboard storage, which is used to locally store recordings from your smartphone, as well as voice-over IP services like Skype from smartphones, tablets, and Bluetooth-equipped computers. Once a call has been recorded, users can tap the accessory on the back of an NFC-enabled smartphone to transfer over the most recent recording. That's kind of interesting. Alternatively, the audio can be played over Bluetooth on the connected smartphone's Blue Wire app for iOS and Android without physically transferring the files. While the device works as a fully functional Bluetooth headset, it's still possible to take advantage of the recording features without having to make the switch from other audio gear. Now, you will, however, want to look into the legality of recording calls in various locales before throwing down for a device like Blue Wire. Absolutely correct. For example, in several United States U.S. states, including California, all parties need to agree to being recorded. I know this myself. You do too, Greg, and
Yes.
Ben, from your work and recording interviews and that sort of thing. You always get people, you say, I'm going to be recording this. Is that okay? Either get it in an email, writing, or verbally capture it as everyone consenting, because it's a very sensitive topic. It goes on to say the product is currently the subject of a crowdfunding campaign, meaning you can't actually pick one up just yet. Luckily, it's over halfway toward its $40,000 goal with 30 days to go, so it's likely to be successfully funded. By the way, this story was published at the very end of last month, January 28. If you're interested in owning a Blue Wire headset, you can make a pledge over the Indiegogo now. The minimum pledge to get your hands on one is $149, and devices are expected to ship in July this year. Just remember to take expected with many grains of salt when you're talking about crowdfunding. So, once again, if you're in a profession, though, you're a lawyer, you're other kinds of professions where you need to capture conversations for documentation purposes, and once again, you let everybody know what's going on before you do so, this could be a very, very useful tool.
Yeah. I know a lot of times when you're recording or you let both the party know, I think the additional law is there has to be a tone every 15 seconds. You're like, beep.
Oh,
No.
that's interesting.
Yeah, I think that's another prerequisite to make sure that both parties know. Whether this does that or not, who knows? You know.
Yeah. No, I was not aware of the beep thing before. I've never heard that. That's interesting.
Yeah. Well, maybe you've never been recorded. Otherwise, you would have heard it.
Wait, you're recording this?
We feel like if people don't realize they're being recorded here, then we're just going to let them live that fantasy.
What? I'm being recorded?
Yeah, you're being recorded. Yeah, exactly. Okay, Ralph Bond here, joining Ben and myself, doing all these really fun stories. Again, it's Friday. Coming up in another 15 minutes or so, we're going to have a show reminder winner of the week. This next story, 10. Now, we remember, again, with drones, have been in the news. There was a drone that was making drug runs over the border, and it malfunctions. Had it not malfunctioned, they probably would never have found it. Who knows?
Yes, the infamous Drono.
Yeah, how many that probably were successful that we never found out?
Yeah.
Also, drones flying over the White House, all this stuff. Well, evidently, there's a new DJI drone firmware that's going to prevent all this from happening. I'm a little dubious about this, but why don't you tell us the story?
Yeah, no, this is true. Wasn't there a story not long ago where they found the wreckage of a drone on the front lawn of the White House or something like that? Is that right, guys? And That's pretty. That's pretty scary. Anyway, this is a story from TechCrunch, a story by Daryl Ethington, and there's a great image, by the way, of a really very nice looking drone in this article to illustrate the point. But it says popular consumer drone maker DJI is using firmware to fight some potential abuses of its hobbyist hardware with an update that will prevent its Phantom 2 series drones from being able to fly onto the White House lawn or carry drugs across country borders.
Mm-hmm.
I guess if you can carry drugs within your own country borders, that's okay. I'm just kidding. This update here is after an unauthorized drone made its way to an ignominious end on the White House lawn earlier this week, so you can get the idea of the time frame when this story appeared. And after a drone packed with meth crashed trying to cross into the U.S. from Mexico last week. For some reason, I just thought of Walter White and Breaking Bad. If they were to redo that show, they could have had drones delivering the meth. Anyway, the firmware update via the Next Web essentially just puts geographic restrictions in place that act as no-fly zones. Pretty simple. Pretty interesting. Adding a virtual barrier extending 25 kilometers from downtown D.C. in all directions and effectively blocking either takeoff or even flying entry by a drone. Isn't that interesting? National borders are included, too, to try to prevent DJI drones from being used for the kind of drug smuggling operation described above. There are also 10,000 new airports added to the Phantom's firmware no-fly list, which should prevent the consumer gadgets from getting in the way of air traffic and generally causing problems. That's another interesting point. The primary concern of drone makers and others invested in making autonomous vehicles a viable consumer and commercial business should be addressing these kinds of perceived threats as soon as they arrive. Once drones are perceived as a credible threat to public safety, complete with examples people can point to back up their claims, it will be much harder to convince legislators to regulate in favor of broader use. So yeah, drones, as we all know, have raised so many legal and other kinds of issues. But this is an interesting concept. But see, it's just one manufacturer. It seems to me you'd almost have to have some kind of across-the-board regulation that any drone in the United States must have firmware that does the following, right? If it's just one manufacturer, that's all well and good, but it's not a total solution.
Exactly. Well, I mean, it makes sense. The problem is, though, if you are, a member of the drug cartel, you're going to have ways of, either removing the firmware or figuring out ways around it.
Oh, yeah.
I think that.
But the average hobbyist, though, that was the drone wreckage that they found in the White House lawn. It was a hobbyist and their drone, and they accidentally crashed it. And it's kind of like when you were younger and you were playing baseball and you lost your baseball over the fence.
Yeah.
Old man Higgins wasn't going to give it back, but still, it's kind of keep people from accidentally hitting a car with it because they were flying it over an interstate or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Okay, all right. Well, so and again, you can see more about it in our show notes, story 10, if you have more interest in this. So let's move on to story 11, and we're back to 3D printing again. But
yay, more!
Yeah. A Canadian charity is taking to printing 3D limbs and printing them to Uganda.
Yeah.
What's the story? What's the story with this thing?
Yeah, this is the source of this is a Tech Moran, and it's a news release, and the link and the pictures there in the show notes, and the very kind of compelling picture. But here's the story. It says, ever heard of 3D printing of artificial limbs? Answer, yes. I think most of us have by now. And it says, well, the Christian Blind Mission, a Canadian charity, is making the limbs to better the lives of many disabled people in the northeastern part of Uganda. To achieve this, CBM has partnered with researchers from the University of Toronto and Autodesk, there's another shameless slip in, a 3D design company to make cheap. Now here's the point, guys. Cheap or inexpensive, customized 3D printed prosthetic limbs for children. So we all know the revolution of 3D printing and laser scanning and all the digital 3D technologies, digital photography 3D technologies and laser scanning and then 3D printing have utterly and totally transformed the prosthetic industry. Because heretofore, to make a customized, personalized prosthetic limb for a child or an adult was always a very costly prospect, right? I mean, it was a lot of labor involved in fittings and castings and all this sort of stuff, and then bingo, here comes all these combined technologies of digital scanning and 3D printing, and it's just turned everything on its head in the positive sense. And so this is kind of story that fits that model. So it says here, the charity administrators of the service at the Comprehensive Rehabilitation Services Hospital in Uganda this is a specialized health facility for children with boy, I'm talking about disabled. My mouth is disabled. For children with disabilities in Kampala. Before the adoption of this technology, the process of making prosthetic limbs was manual and time-consuming, to my point earlier. It involves using plaster of Paris that is wrapped around a plastic mold, then waiting for it to dry and harden. After it dries, the plaster is used as a negative cast to make a positive cast of the limb and so on. Then a socket is molded around the positive cast before it's ready to use. Limb amputations, especially in developing countries, are largely attributed to the effects of landmines. We all know this tragic story. In conflict or former conflict areas, or it could be severe bone infections, accidents at birth and birth defects and so on. This has led to an increase in demand for prosthetic limbs, sad to say, while manpower to deal with the problem remains a challenge. So again, these technologies coming in and making this possible. I know of another company that's doing prosthetic arms and hands and so forth, and making them at a fraction of infinitesimal fraction of what these devices used to cost.
Yeah, exactly, and obviously for a good cause.
Yeah.
All right, I want to move to story 13 here. You know, when you check into your local hotel and everything, well, Marriott evidently is considering offering Netflix, Hulu, and Pandora in hotel rooms.
Yeah, sign of the times, right, guys?
Yeah.
And the first thing that struck me was, yes, that's a very nice convenience. Now, I always have my tablet or my laptop and my other toys with me when I travel, and I can serve myself my own entertainment once I'm connected to the internet in the hotel room. So in a way, I'm not so sure this would appeal to me necessarily, but the idea of saying to customers, hey, come to our hotels and we will provide as a free aspect of your room on the larger screen television that's in the room, these services, that could be very appealing. And you don't have to log in with your account or any of that kind of thing. It's just there, right? So I can see the benefit of that, mainly from the size of the screen that you're going to be allowed to have. And what if you don't have a Pandora subscription, or you don't have Hulu but you have Netflix? Well, here you've got all three of these services, so you can have your music and video entertainment. So the story says here, again, this comes from TechCrunch, a story by Jordan Crook. It says Marriott, recently in the news for attempting to block private hotspots, is working to offer familiar entertainment via their in-room video systems. Marriott International is testing out new in-room entertainment in 8 hotels across its chain, which is admittedly a relatively small test considering the chain operates more than 4,000 properties in more than 80 countries. Wow. That includes the ability to watch Netflix, Hulu, or listen to Pandora, of course that's a music service, from the high-def television in the room. And I do think the size of the screen is a real plus. The hospitality company says that it's part of an effort to renew the idea of in-room entertainment. And if offering Netflix means we don't have to sift through the glitchy show world of LodgeNet, it's a win-win for the consumer. Sorry, LodgeNet, I always hated that. Just was such a clunky thing.
Yeah.
It's unclear which method Marriott will use to deliver this content to consumers. The report suggests that users would be able to pay for Netflix, Hulu, and Pandora access as a premium tier in their Wi-Fi package at the hotel. Time out. This should be part of your hotel room. That's where I think they're making a mistake. On the right track,
Like,
charging me for this? Get real.
like I feel like it should already be, because most people who travel with a laptop or a smartphone or whatnot, they're going to be able to get all this on their own.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. If I go to a hotel, and I always pick hotels that give me free Wi-Fi, right? That I'm not going to get stiffed
Mm-hmm.
for Wi-Fi. So once I have that, to your point, Ben, I pull out my tablet, I pull out my laptop, whatever the device may be, and I got to be honest with you. If I think the idea is on the right track, but I just do stop when they say you're going to charge you for this, because that seems counter-logical to me. I'll just pull out my tablet and say thanks, but no thanks.
I agree.
I would do the same thing. I don't know. I know they have to make their money somewhere, and I don't know. They could try.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna take away from them for them to try, but I don't think it'll work.
I think so. I mean, if you're already paying for Netflix or Hulu, you're subscribed to them. That's the Hulu Plus and everything. Why should you have to pay for it again? You're at the
Yeah,
hotel.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's absolutely counter-logical.
Yeah, especially if or you can bring a little Chromecast with you. Just plug the Chromecast into the TV there.
Oh my gosh, you're right. Of course you can. Oh,
Yeah,
sure. That's a smart thing to do.
Yeah, most of the TVs in the hotels will have an HDMI input in the back, and you can just plug your Chromecast in there, and then you can cast to the big screen. That would just be that simple.
Well, there you go, Craig. You've solved the problem. There is no problem now. $35 for a Chromecast. If you're a traveler, boy, if I traveled a lot, I would absolutely do that.
Yeah. Okay. So let's continue on here. Now, again, we encourage you to follow along. Just go to the show notes page and download the just click on the cheat sheet and look at the show notes, and you can see everything there. I want to skip over to story 15. This looks really, really cool. I mean, there are services that I'll use. For example, there's Kayak, that is sort of like an aggregator that'll check many different airlines, looking for the best possible fees, that type of thing. I found that to be services like that to be very useful. But evidently, according to Story 15, in the Boston Business Journal, there's something called Hopper, and they're coming out with an airfare prediction app, and they're saying it's one of the best traveled apps out there.
Yeah, great story written by David Harris, and as you said before, Boston Business Journal. I immediately thought this was something that I wanted to share, because obviously, folks, if you're a frequent traveler and so forth, this could be very helpful. So, Hopper, a Cambridge, Massachusetts, Cambridge-based travel tech company, released an app that can tell you the best time to book a flight. That's the key here, guys. The best time to book a flight, and the best thing is that it works really well. Now, best time relative to cost and so forth, right? You say to yourself, what's the best day of the week or days of the week, and within those days of the week, what are the best times and so forth to get the best fares? So the app aims to take a lot of the complexity of booking a flight, and it works well. It gives you guidance on when to book a flight to a certain destination to get the best fare, gives you real-time notification on when airfares actually drop or rise. Wait a minute. Drink that in for a second. Gives you real-time notification on when airfares actually drop or rise. It's almost like having those stock trading apps that'll say, ooh, guess what? Your stock just went down a little bit. If you want to buy it, good time to buy, right? It's that kind of thing. The author says, I used Hopper's app to find out that I probably shouldn't book a flight from Boston to Philadelphia until late February. Hopper's technology analyzes billions of flight prices daily, according to the company, and it's been giving consumers a taste of its technology on its website. So you can go out to their website and check it out.
There aren't billions of flights daily. I can think hundreds of thousands of flights. There are no billions of flights.
The part that's funny too, of course, course, prices now, not billions of flights, billions of prices, because they goof around with the pricing structure. I'm just kidding. No, I think that's an
maybe
exaggeration.
billions of flight prices. Yeah, okay, maybe they're flight prices, but I would take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah. And it said in their press release that it's like having a super fast, all-knowing travel agent in your pocket, and the app is available for iOS 8 devices in the United States and Canada. Now, they have the company Hopper has raised $22 million to date from investors that include Cambridge's Atlas Venture, Toronto venture firm Bright Spark, and Toronto-based OMERS, OMERS Ventures. So it's an interesting idea.
If they got just $1 for every flight price, they would have raised billions of dollars with $22 million. So
yeah.
But you got to admit that the airline tickets, they're like I recently had to buy some. They are all over the place, and
Yes.
6 weeks out it was one price, 5 weeks out another. They fluctuate by like $100.
Well, yeah.
Crazy.
yeah, exactly. All right. Again, we're doing these different stories that Ralph finds us. This is interesting. Now, I know we kind of talked a little bit about it, but I'd like to talk about it again. Story 16.
Oh yes.
The list of 2014's worst passwords. And
Yes.
we did a story on this similar to this, but let's do this one again because this is very funny.
Oh, it is funny, and it's from TechCrunch. It's another story here by Jordan Crook, and the title is "The List of 2014's Worst Passwords, Including the Infamous 123456, is Embarrassing." And it is funny. According to Splash Data's yearly list of the worst passwords on the internet, as compiled by more than 3 million leaked passwords from 2014, we are kind of lazy about the whole digital security thing, at least when it comes to properly locking the gates with a strong password. Seriously, it says, just take a look at the full list. This is hilarious. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Number 2. This is sort of like, what is it? Who does that countdown? Is it David Letterman or whatever does? The number one, and then goes but reverse order. Well, here we go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The next one, password. Password is your password. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, followed by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The QWERTY, just doing the keys on your keyboard. Some other sequences of 1, 2, 3, so on. But down the line here, number 8, baseball. Baseball, interesting. Number 9, dragon. Number 10, football. Another one of these, 1, 2, 3, 4. Number 12, monkey. And another one, let mine, Letmein.
Let me in.
Oh, let me in. I thought it was German for a second here. Let mine. Let mine. No,
Let
it's
me
let me in.
mine.
Oh.
What do you mean let mine? Yeah, let me in.
Here's another good one. ABC 1, 2, 3. Oh, and here's a good one. Number 15. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Number 16. Mustang. 17. Access. 18. Shadow. 19. Muster. 20. Michael.
Man.
21. Superman. And then, more numbers. And then number 24 is Batman. Well, at least that's more exciting. And 25, trust no one. With the number 1. Trust no one. You gotta love it.
I'm so glad it's a secret isn't on there because that's the one I use, so I'm still safe.
Oh God!
I'm wondering why why that name, unless they're talking about maybe the movie Michael, maybe
maybe I don't know. I do some pretty creative stuff with my passwords these days, in terms of trying to be weird and trying to make it difficult and so forth. So. It just never ends. Right?
Although I remember reading this article, and the only little asterisk I would put by is that, like, the number of passwords, yes, they're the most common, but at the end of the day, one of these passwords had to be the most common. If you take statistics, and let's say there are 1 billion passwords, and these top 50 passwords or whatever, like, if they were used 100,000 times and all the others weren't, then even though it's like out of a billion, these were used 100,000 times, not a very big number, they're still the most popular. So
Yeah, it's pretty spooky. It's pretty scary,
yeah.
especially in this day and age. After you would think the awareness for cybersecurity would be so high at this point. Oh well.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, okay. Let's go on to story 17. Remember, though, folks, that right after or bottom of the hour news to spill and review, we're going to come back and we're going to call for show reminder winner of the week because it'll be Friday at the second half of the second hour. We always so if you have your entry in, it may be you. It might be your name that we're calling out this week. All right, number 17, Nickelodeon. Ben, do you still watch Nickelodeon? You used to watch it.
I
don't
still
watch much
do.
What?
Yeah, Nickelodeon's okay. Cartoon Network's more my flavor, but they're okay.
Well, didn't Nickelodeon was out before the Cartoon Network came out, right? Or did they come out at the same time?
Well, that's a good trivia question.
Both early 90s, but I believe Nickelodeon came out first.
First, yeah, I think so. And then the Cartoon Network came out after that. Well, evidently, Nickelodeon is going to offer a streaming service as Viacom steps up digital efforts.
Yeah, and guys, the reason I like this story, we talked, a couple months back, I think it was, about HBO kind of cutting the cable tie, in a sense, and saying to the world, hey, pay me $10 a month, and over the internet, I'll let you stream the HBO content, right? You don't have to be a Comcast subscriber. You don't have to be this or whatever. You can, it's independent of the service provider model, give you that service. And I think that's, I thought that was so important from the consumer entertainment point of view, and the never-ending holy grail of getting the stranglehold of those gosh darn companies like Comcast and the rest off of our backs.
Yeah, you're right. No, and we'll continue on with this. But yeah, you're right. I mean, HBO and now and other networks. But the point is that if you continue to subscribe to all of them, you wind up paying more money than you are probably to the cable company. You have to be careful,
That's true.
All right, we're going to pause. We're going to have our show reminder of the week. We're going to have a news tip and review. All that coming up. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Looking for a best friend? Brother Wolf Animal Rescue has your best friend waiting just for you. Their mission is to protect and enhance the lives of companion animals and the people who love them. Their no-kill rescue shelter is open year-round, making it easy for people to adopt their best new friend. This year, Brother Wolf will find homes for over 2,400 orphan dogs, puppies, cats, and kittens. All have ended up as an orphan through no fault of their own. Brother Wolf has created a safe, nurturing environment where these special animals can heal emotionally and physically until they find a lifelong home. Their life-saving transport program brings dogs and puppies from overcrowded shelters in the south to rescues in the north where homes are easier to find. Brother Wolf Animal Rescue is a 501c3 organization. To learn more about their life-saving work and to make a donation, visit their website at www.bwar.org. That's www.bwar.org. Help to realize Brother Wolf's vision when no animal is euthanized for lack of a home.
Who's a good boy?
Don't complain about your cable bill going up and up and up. Do something about it. Grab a pencil and jot down this special number. 1-866-663-MY-TV. The more cable TV rates go up, the better digital satellite TV looks. So, disable the cable and get more of your favorite channels in 100% digital quality for less money. Call 1-866-663-MY-TV right now to sign up for packages starting as low as $19.99 and up to 4 rooms. And there's no equipment to buy. That includes your free HD TV upgrade, your free DVR upgrade, and your free professional installation. And the best part, the pristine digital picture and sound. Call 1-866-663-MY-TV. So, what are you waiting for? Pull out your major credit or debit card. Call 1-866-663-MY-TV. 1-866-663-MY-TV. Disable the cable, cut costs, and get more. Call 1-866-663-MY-TV. 1-866-663-MY-TV.
Who said that? It's Marty Winston with another News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America. This time, the thumbs-up touch speaker boombox. It's mostly cylindrical, about the size of a can of kidney beans, with flat sections at the top and bottom. Inside, a USB rechargeable battery powers it. Thumbs Up calls it the Touch Speaker Boombox. When you place your handset on the top with a handset speaker near the rear of the flat area, something couples the signal driving the speaker in your handset into the amplifier in the boombox, and the boombox 3-inch speaker up front drives a bigger sound into the room. It's a cool trick, but the thing that makes it worth doing is that the sound that comes out of it is quite good. It will take you a few tries to figure out the sweet spot for your handset. Also, the handset volume control is the only one in play here. And if you turn it up too much, what you hear will sound distorted. This just about always happens when you turn things up too much. Bottom line, the Thumbs Up Touch Speaker Boombox is a cool way to get a big sweet sound out of a handset with no pairing or cables required. This is Marty Winston with a News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America.
Welcome back to the Computer America Show. And before we get back to Ralph Bond, about 33 minutes past the hour, before we get back to Ralph Bond and this story about Nickelodeon to offer streaming services Viacom, because it's Friday and the second hour, half hour, we haven't given away anything all week, and we feel sad about that. So, Craig, did you happen to pick out a winner?
Yes, I did, Ben. It just so happens. Yes, it
Would you like to share it with the rest of the class?
Yes, I will share with the rest of the class.
Okay, then.
Okay, well, this week's show reminder is Adrian Peck. Adrian Peck, you are this week's show reminder winner of the week. And you get the Logitech wireless rechargeable touchpad T650 valued at $80. So congratulations to you. We'll get that out to you shortly. And again, Adrian Peck wins the Logitech T650 touchpad. Again, head over to computeramerica.com, get your entry in, and we'll give another one away next Friday. It may be you this time. Okay, and as Ben mentioned, Ralph Bond is we're doing our these stories that he finds. Again, you can see them all on our show notes page. We have the cheat notes. You can see them for yourself. Story 17 is Nickelodeon to offer a streaming service as Viacom steps up digital efforts. And again, we were saying, yes, HBO is now offering, you don't have to have, DirecTV or a cable company to subscribe to HBO, but you can get CBS, you can get ABC. Each network is now making their content available for a very low subscription fee. But the caveat is that if you get ABC and CBS and NBC's one for $8, and then you get HBO for another $8, and you get you get Hulu or Netflix, you're going to find that you might be paying more for your cherry pick pick selection than you would if you just subscribe to one through the cable company. So you have to be careful. You're going to have to go see which ones you want, which ones you use the most, and then find out if so. Some of them do offer package deals. Like for example, what we were saying just in the news that's offering the package deal that's coming out. Ben, it was one of the companies that was offering it. You can.
If you mean like a day ago.
Sling TV, yeah, Sling TV was offering a package, that type of thing.
Right.
And they were offering.
They were offering like the Chromecast and the Roku and the Apple TV. Like they're offering that with their Sling TV service.
Right, exactly. Which is like $20 a month or something. So, and if depending upon what, you're going to have to do a little shopping. And of course, as time progresses, more and more of these are going to become available.
Yes.
And so you might have to bide your time. You might not find exactly what you're looking for, but I think if you wait long enough, you'll find. They may even come out with services that allow you to aggregate. There might be. I'm sure there will be a company like XYZ company is going to offer streaming services, and you can pick from, let's say 10 or 15 and put them together yourself, and you get those for a flat rate of X amount, and so you can kind of pick the ones that you want, that type of thing. So I'm sure that's all around the corner, and eventually, within the next year or two, I think we'll see these aggregators come out, allowing you to pick your own. I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, that's it. Anyway, in this story, Nickelodeon is with Viacom is stepping up these digital efforts. Tell us about it.
Yeah. Again, story from New York Times, and about Nickelodeon to offer a streaming service, just as you were saying. And I couldn't agree with you more, guys, that this is, yes, if you start one-offing these things because you want to cut the cable, you want to get your NBC, ABC, CBS, Fox, and so forth over the air maybe, and then aggregate a few of these packages. Today, you could quickly find yourself paying as much as you're paying your current television providing service over the cable. That's all very true, but I do think it's a domino effect. I think you start seeing this happen, the sling box thing, more and more. At some point, it's going to have to put pressure on the currently almost monopolistic death grip that some of these current cable servers have on all of us. And maybe it'll start freeing things up and get costs down, or allow us to pick and choose what we want instead of a package that's 100 and something channels. Look, my wife and I probably watch 20 to 25 channels on a regular basis, and that's it. Give me that chance. But anyway, let's go back to Nickelodeon. They just recently announced that they're going to offer a new subscription service. It's going to start in March, and it will be available outside traditional cable or satellite television packages. Again, that's the point we were all making earlier. The new offering from the home of SpongeBob SquarePants and Dora the Explorer will have a distinct brand intended to draw in children and their parents. More details of the product are to be disclosed in advertising sales presentations next month. The move signals an attempt by Viacom to prove its relevance at a time of mega mergers and rapid digital transformations that are upending the media business. Shares in the company slid about 12% in 2014 after persistent ratings struggles and advertising declines. The total audience for Viacom's television networks tumbled 18% during the quarter that ended in December of 31. According to Bernstein Research, Viacom has blamed issues with the measurement process used for determining the ratings for its declines. Well, be that as it may. Yeah. But I think the real point, guys, as this story makes, is all of these folks are now going, I've got to find different business models if I'm in the entertainment business, and the internet is clearly it is, for me personally, my go-to main way I get entertainment. The story ends, though, by saying the offering is announced on Thursday. Viacom joins other television groups that are starting their own streaming services. As you mentioned before, CBS started a $6 a month option in October, and HBO is expected to start a standalone streaming service this year. So, yeah, it's an interesting development. I think it's a move in a really good direction.
Yeah, I do, and I think again we're going to find. Sling TV is sort of one of them, but I think we're going to find aggregators that you can go to the website and you'll say, what do you want? CBS, ABC, Fox. You can just check them off.
Yes.
Oh, I want this one, I want that one, I want this one, and you'll pick maybe 7 or 10 or 15 of them that you know that you're going to watch and you want to have a deal. And you'll pick them, and they'll either be a package deal, or you're allowed to choose up to as many, maybe up to 15 for $30 or $40 a month. They'll come up with something like that. Someone's going to do it.
I agree.
The term you guys are looking for is a la carte, and there's a reason that they don't want to give you that. Is that obviously there's some channels that are more popular than others, but if they can package them and sell them, they can at least make a profit on a few of those channels. I don't know how many people really want to watch the channel USA, but people will watch it if it's in their programming package and they say, oh, look, that movie's on or that show's on, I'll watch that.
Yeah.
They want to sell you in bulk.
No, USA has some actually interesting shows, and they've actually produced some series themselves. I mean,
American Heroes channel, then just these off channels that no one knows or that no one wants per se. But if there's something on, like they definitely want to sell you in bulk. The moment that they let you a la carte is the moment that they kind of give up and they have to change their entire pricing model,
Yeah,
which is hard for such a big industry.
Or what will happen, Ben, is that those networks that nobody really wants to watch or everything will eventually go away. You know, they can't sell them. Nobody wants them. No one wants.
That would be a bad thing.
Well, how do you figure? I mean, if no one's watching, you know, a network that has no original programming, there's nothing any of interest in it. No one's, and they're only selling their content.
Not that there's no interest in it. It's just that there's not much interest in it. And let's say 10,000 people watch this off channel, but 10 million watch a main channel. Obviously, the one with 10 million viewers is going to get money, going to get paid, and that kind of thing. But that doesn't mean the one that with 10,000 viewers isn't doing something good. Maybe it's just documentaries. Maybe it's all about animals, what have you. But the moment that you start cutting channels left and right, how else are they supposed to get their view out there? Which is why Netflix is so great, because they have just an all or nothing mentality. You pay $9 a month for unlimited streaming, you get whatever you want, and then they put everything on there. You aren't just picking, oh, I only watch drama, or oh, I only watch comedy. They put everything out there, and then it's a lower price. So I'm all for the everything, you get everything, but I feel like just at this point the cable companies have just gotten so bloated though, that when you pay for everything, you're paying $110 for everything.
Can you get CBS on Netflix?
I'm sure you can get television shows that are on CBS on Netflix. You can't get CBS proper on Netflix.
Okay. Well, I mean, or shows.
Like what show?
No, I'm just saying. I mean, your local.
What show does CBS have?
Oh, well, we'll go to CBS. Off the top of my head, I don't know. But the point is that if there are particular shows that air on a particular network, and you want to get those programs, then you have to get that network to watch those shows. Then, or maybe it's just that the networks is needs redefining. I'm not sure exactly.
I'll tell you guys, abused my daughter and her boyfriend. They don't have cable. What they do is they get their local channels, ABC, CBS, Fox, and so forth, over the air. And then they have a Hulu Plus subscription. And Hulu Plus, yeah, there's commercials, but they're shorter than regular television commercials. But all the major networks have all their sitcoms and all their shows are there.
Yeah,
and,
but
you know.
And you can't, Ralph, you can't skip over the commercials either. Well,
no, you can't skip over the commercials, but it's a pretty, interesting way to kind of get around the cable TV thing by combining over the air with something like Hulu Plus. And then to Ben's point, and I subscribe to Netflix, as you guys know, and I also subscribe to Amazon Prime, which has some great programming. Boy, both those guys, Amazon Prime and Netflix, as you guys know, are producing original content and series that are just fantastic. Starting to watch this one called Bosch about an LA detective on Amazon Prime. That's really pretty cool so far.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree with you. I just think that something has to be done. I'm not sure what it is yet.
I feel like at some point, all these networks that you love so much, you're not really going to have network loyalty. It's just that either Hulu or Netflix or Amazon Prime or any other streaming service, they're going to sign a contract and pay them money, and then you're going to get them a la carte whenever you want to watch them. It's just you're going to be getting your shows, but instead of paying for AT&T, Comcast, Dish, whoever you get your television from, you would just be subscribed to whichever streaming service has the type of shows you want to watch. Because Hulu, definitely better for television shows. Netflix, great for movies. Amazon Prime, they do stuff, I guess. They have some all-bought stuff. But you just subscribe to whichever streaming service has your interest.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, as it continues to get hashed out, I guess we'll just we'll just have to wait and see. We're gonna have to do. All right, let's continue on. Story 18. This is interesting. It's entitled, "Is One Person's Connected Trash Another's Treasure?"
Yeah, from Forbes magazine. Michael O'Dwyer is the author of this piece, and it caught my eye. Very interesting. It says, imagine if your trash bin not only collected garbage, but helped better manage the waste you produce. This is what the city of Barcelona, Spain, has done by placing monitoring sensors on recycling bins that send out an alert when full to help its residents reduce household waste and increase recycling. Similar programs are in place in other cities around the world. The Internet of Things is now being used to aid waste management companies and sanitation departments in tracking waste and recycling volumes. I love sensors. You know, the whole thing about deploying sensors is such an interesting field. You know, we talk about 3D printing and this and that, but this whole bit about putting sensors out there is another thing that's a profound technological thing that's going on in our world today. But going back to the story, it says, in Barcelona's case, more than $4 billion in savings is projected in the next 10 years by doing this sensors to track recycling and waste. With internet-connected sensors embedded in the bins, collection frequency is determined by bin capacity alone, rather than fixed collection schedules. Wait a minute, that's kind of interesting. So you have smart pickup. So when a bin is full, let's go get it. If it's not full, quarter full, hey, pass it by. And ripple out the impact of that financially, right, in terms of fuel costs for the trucks that go around, and on and on and on. The story goes on to say, waste management companies must address environmental concerns while also improving efficiency and reducing costs from initial collection to processing and landfill management. The use of sensors can help in all these areas, automating tasks such as monitoring and storing waste. After garbage is collected using sensor-enhanced bins, municipal solid waste or packaging waste is sorted at central locations, and valuable materials are extracted using sensors at the post-collection facilities to determine refuse types. Interesting. These sensors can sort paper. I love this. Get this. Let this soak in. These sensors can sort paper, plastics, glass, and valuable metals, as demonstrated by Tomra, T-O-M-R-A, a provider of sensor-based sorting solutions for multiple industries. This reduces the amount of waste sent to landfills. We all know that sorting out recycled material is a real bugaboo problem, guys. You have kind of like conveyor belts, and you have workers that are grabbing the plastic and grabbing the tin cans and whatever, trying to sort things out by human. And you know, it's well intended, but it's not very great. If you have sensors that can tell material from other material and help automate that process, that's pretty interesting.
No, yes, it is.
Yeah, it's very cool. It says the overall aim is to reuse or recycle all material, even if used as fuel. Industry leaders are already working on other new Internet of Things solutions for waste management. But with all the progress in making the trash bin the next smart connected product, it still doesn't eliminate one task: the need for you to take the trash out to the bin. So there's still a doggone human base. We just got to get rid of humans.
Yeah, that's it.
Have the robot dog take the trash out.
I want to get this other story in here. We have time, and story 19. Now, you know, for all of us using these our weather apps, we want to check what the weather is. I use it all the time. It's one of the weather user. Evidently, there's a satellite startup that promises not only weather data but super accurate weather data. And this
if you're a weather junkie, this is for you, right? It's a story by Stephanie Millot, and really, really interesting. It says here, as the recent confusion over the East Coast blizzard demonstrated, it can sometimes be difficult to get accurate weather forecasts, but that will be a thing of the past if data startup company Spire, S-P-I-R-E, has its way. Spire plans to launch a network, get this, guys, a network of tiny satellites this year that will be used to provide highly accurate weather data. They will collect 10,000 readings per day rather than the 2,000 we get now via publicly funded weather satellites. from 2,000 readings to 10,000 readings a day. Right now, there are about 20 satellites in orbit that send us weather data, but they're just a tad bit outdated. How will this work? Spire satellites will be equipped with sensors that measure GPS signals through the Earth's atmosphere to calculate temperature, pressure, and humidity. Spire plans to launch 20 satellites of its own in 2015, which will provide 5 times more data than we have today. So for more, I've got links in the show notes here. You can go check out the Phoenix project, a DARPA-backed project to create modular satellites, as well as the best and worst free Android weather apps and so on. So there's some additional points here, but I think this startup Spire's onto something pretty interesting.
Yeah, I would think so. I think the more samples that you get, sampling, the faster sampling rate from 2,000 now, getting 10,000 as opposed to 10, it's 5 times more accurate, or more data, and if they can crunch that, they can probably get a lot better accuracy. And I mean, obviously, we use supercomputers today to calculate, and we keep them busy full time to calculate weather the best that we can, and it's still, many times is not accurate. So obviously, anything that will help improve that, I think, is a good thing. Okay, and Ben is our consummate gamer here in this last story. That is story 20. Grand Theft Auto 5 ships 45 million copies, so much that it surpasses Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah, there you go. A moment in game software history, right? From Techno Buffalo, a story by Ron Duell, and this is really kind of fun. It says, there is just no stopping this juggernaut. Rockstar's Grand Theft Auto 5 is quickly on its way to becoming the best-selling video game of all time. Wow. This latest figures of 45 million shipped units puts it above Super Mario Brothers on the all-time best-selling list, with only Minecraft, Wii Sports, and Tetris to go. That's very interesting. The news comes from Take-Two's financial call. The large boost of sales came from the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One versions released the previous holiday season. These saw nearly 10 million units shipped in that time period. Now it says, of course, we all know that this is not the end of the line of Rockstar's massive hit either. Grand Theft Auto 5 will soon be getting a highly anticipated PC version release that comes packaged with the potential for Steam sales and humble bundles. It's only going to be a matter of time before another game is laid victim to this rampage. Overall, for the previous quarter, Take-Two pulled in $531.1 million and sold, a solid figure, but a huge drop from the previous year when it raked up a record $1.86 billion. This can easily be accounted for by the lack of a new Grand Theft Auto game launching in the near term, is the implication. So, but I love this whole thing about the game. But you know what's kind of interesting to me, guys, is when you talk about the all-time highest rated games, most of these are kind of Wii Sports, Tetris, Minecraft. They're not the super like I would have thought Call of Duty or something like that. I just think that struck me as interesting, along with the fact that Grand Theft Auto 5 has now broken all these records.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Ralph, listen, we're almost out of time here. What's going on with Autodesk? What's up?
Wait. You guys aren't curious how Tetris is number one?
In terms of sales, well, I was way up there. Yeah,
it has
Halo or
it has 100 million copies sold. Tetris.
Wow. That's just mind blowing.
That's twice what Grand Theft Auto has. And by the way, that was the 2006 version of Tetris, not the 1989 Game Boy one or even earlier. It was the one for cell phones. And apparently everyone is crazy about Tetris because they all had phones and they were bored. And Tetris sold 100 million copies. Crazy.
Amazing. Isn't that amazing? It's crazy.
So tell us about Autodesk. What's going on with you and Autodesk?
Yeah, well, of course, the Oscars are coming up February the 22nd, and as you know, Autodesk, if you're not aware of this, Autodesk is a huge part of the entertainment software industry, special effects and so forth. So with the Oscars, here's just a few of the titles up for Academy Award consideration that used our special effects software from Autodesk. Big Hero 6, Birdman, Box Trolls, Captain America the Winter Soldier, and Guardians of the Galaxy. And this is just a fraction of the titles involved in the Academy Awards consideration that used our software. So if you're not familiar with that part of Autodesk, you may know us for AutoCAD and all the things we're doing in the design world, but check out the entertainment side of our business. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, it's been an unbelievable year, and a lot of new things, movies coming up that we're looking forward to seeing. I know Autodesk is going to be a big part of that too. Ralph, listen, I want to thank you so much for being with us here on the show tonight. Great stories. Stay with us for our after show and our live videos streaming. And thanks to all of you again for listening to the show tonight. We got a weekend coming up. And then on Monday, we're going to have two guests. In the first hour, it's going to be a company called New Matter. And they basically is a company that
90
they have
seconds.
something called again a new 3D printer is being introduced called the Mod T, and we're going to be talking to them about that. And then in hour 2, we're going to have Kiro Technology, and they have a product called SamePage, and basically it's a little bit like Dropbox and that type of thing, but they use something called contextual engagement for sharing information. They're going to be on the show in hour 2. Hey, everybody,
seconds.
Have a great weekend. Catch a good movie. There's a couple of them coming out this weekend. So let's see, what is it? Is the Kingsman going to be out this weekend? Is that this weekend?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think exactly. And so definitely that's one I would like to see. So anyway, have a great weekend, and Ben and I will see you Monday night. Go out and do something, have some fun. You know, have a good time. You know,
for sure.
Just like Ben did.
It was a time to be had.
So until Monday night, this is Craig Crossman hoping that your hard disk never becomes floppy. We'll see you Monday night.
10 seconds.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
All right, everybody. Thanks again for watching us.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ralph.
Hey, my pleasure.
All right, and we'll catch you next the second Friday of next month too. All right. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Good night, people.